And it's why I think so many of you are here, and whether you're going to go on to some of the other protests afterwards, or the Juneteenth celebration. We need to show our faces. Let me get at it and these issues. The big, god-awful, cruel bill. I've worked on a lot of legislation, governor, senator, you name it. I can't think of any single piece of legislation that would do more damage than this bill, and I will do everything in my power to kill it. I think some folks realize what it does in healthcare. 16 million Americans will be kicked off of healthcare, whether it's through Medicaid, where in most of Virginia, our babies, 30, 40, in some communities, over 50% of our kids that are born are on Medicaid. Mental health services, half of those on the Medicaid population, 300,000 Virginians will lose health care, about half Medicaid. But then people will say, well, Medicaid is just for poor people, why should I care? Well, if you buy your health insurance, the Obamacare marketplace, you're going to see your rates go up $700, $800, $900 a month. So another about 140,000 Virginians will lose their health care that way. So on health care alone, there is a mean-spiritedness. I've been doing this for a while. I remember when I was governor, when Virginia was ranked near the bottom in terms of kids being signed up for children's health care. Only 30% of our kids were signed up. We worked our asses off and got 95% signed up. At that moment in time, it wasn't that long ago, everybody, Democrat and Republican alike, said, God, that is great that we did that in Virginia. This bill becomes law, we will go back to where we stood before Obamacare. All of the benefits in terms of coverage will be erased. And the incredible thing, I'm going to get some grief today for trying to work with Republicans, but give me a moment, come on, let me get my 2 cents in first. But do they not understand that people are still going to get sick? All we're going to do with this bill is transfer that responsibility back to uncompensated care at the emergency. That is morally wrong, it's financially wrong, it's just plain stupid. On food assistance, we're going to see in this bill 200,000 Virginians lose any kind of assistance on food. Don't we think our kids ought to go to school healthy, well-fed, school breakfast, school lunches? And as I mentioned, as Cree was going out, a tricky little thing that happens in the bill as well is that they have literally transferred most of the administrative cost of SNAP, which is the food program, back to the state. So the Commonwealth of Virginia will have to eat another $300 million a year if this takes place. And one of the reasons why we keep saying is that the bad bill, the awful bill, the terrible, I call it the cruel bill. Because what this crowd also does, it's not bad enough just to cut food and health, but they literally cut assistance to food banks. Food banks, you're not going to close a $37 trillion debt by cutting food banks. This is just plain cruel. The bill as well takes out all of the progress that was made from the clean energy tax credits. Climate change is real. Sea level is rising. I can tell you the places in Southwest where we saw the effects of Hurricane Helene, that is not a one-off storm anymore. And when we cut these clean energy credits, 21,000 jobs in Virginia, we dramatically set ourselves back. Matter of fact, we've got 4 or 5 major projects in Virginia right now that were awarded funds that are now held in abeyance because this administration is trying to jerk those back. And listen, I've been the guy, my first gang, I make the comment that I work in the only place in America being a gang member is sometimes viewed as a good thing. Bipartisan group comes together. Our kind of first efforts were trying to take on the debt and deficit, the old Simpson-Bowles effort. It is gone. Debt has gotten much worse. This bill adds $2.5 trillion to the debt because the basis of this whole bill is basically to make permanent tax cuts for the wealthiest in America at the expenses of lower income Americans. Matter of fact, the fact that it's not gotten that much If you are making minimum wage in America, your overall costs are going to go up 53%. You're in that top 10 to 1%, you're going to get on average a $400,000 tax cut. That is not fair. It is not right. Candidly, it's not what our country should be about. So this bill we have to kill. I have some hopes, and we can get into this as we get into the question period, but it is as bad as anything I've seen. On Doge. Holy crap. How many of you here know someone that has been affected? Government contractor, federal employee? You know, the idea of a smart Doge, I can support it. But the idea of a stupid Doge, you know, Elon Musk may be smart in certain things, but the idea that you want to fire a coder in the valley, you can replace it. You can't fire an air traffic controller, a researcher, someone who inspects our food, and those are not fungible positions. I will give you even odds on this. When the final total of the chaos and inefficiency that was created by Doge for at least the 4 months or so that he was there, this will cost the taxpayer money.
Oh, yeah.
And it is, again, an abomination. Politicization of our military. You know, there are good days and bad days. One of my good days was Tim and I do a meeting each year with all of the new cadets who are going to our Armed Services Academies. These are bright young people that are literally going to go to school to be willing to put their lives on the line to protect this country. When I saw them all Thursday morning, I said, you know, one of the great things about America is not only that we've got a strong military, strong economy, but we have a military that has never been political. And Donald Trump, before our eyes, in the last couple of weeks, has done more things to try to politicize our military than anything in the last 25 years. Whether it is putting Marines in Los Angeles, which is wrong, against the objection of the governor and local officials, whether it was giving a political rally speech to troops at Fort Bragg, which is wrong and against military convention, whether it is this crazy self-aggrandizing parade in D.C. today, which, by the way, is going to cost the taxpayer $44 million. That is not who our military. You know, the remarkable thing about our military is, when you take an oath, it's not to a president. It's actually not even to the country. It is an oath to the Constitution. And that Constitution needs to be protected and preserved. And combining with that, you guys know, many of you know, follow, I'm very involved on the intelligence community. The chairman, we are seeing a politicization of our intelligence community. The last time we started corrupting intelligence products, what happened? We got into war in Iraq. We have an incompetent director of national intelligence that should be fired or quit. We have an incompetent secretary of defense that should be fired or quit. And I'll tell you why. Because, you know, we've got actual proof that when the intelligence professionals said, you know, here's the assessment of what was going on in Venezuela, they were told by email, change that because we don't want to offend the president. And when they refused to bend the knee, these 30-year professionals were immediately fired. We've seen as well the director of national intelligence trying to cut off the legs, basically, and make the inspector general position, the general counsel there, loyal not to the independents, but the director of national intelligence. I've urged and challenged Pete Hegseth or Tulsi Gabbard. You think the information that you are doing so irresponsibly on your signal phones is not important? Come down to Norfolk, Virginia, and meet with the friends and the families of the sailors on the Truman. That is the aircraft carrier that is deployed to the Eastern Mediterranean, where the planes took off to strike the Houthis. Those families know. I did a town hall because no congressperson would show up in that district. I did big one in Virginia Beach, big one in Chesapeake. People were pissed off beyond belief because they know if that information had gotten out, American sailors and lives would be lost. Immigration. You know, I believe many people voted for Trump because they wanted prices lower and they wanted the border secure. Making the border secure does not give you a green light to pick up people off the streets when they're going to work or school. We have due process in this country, no matter what. And again, we've seen every action of this administration I've spoken out against on immigration. You know, and the truth is right now, we saw what happened to Senator Padilla the other day, and he said it better than me. If the United States Senator is treated that way, how is that farm worker or caregiver treated? It's just, again, it's just plain cruel. So whether it's immigration, whether it is our standing in the world, I want to mention one last thing, then I know we want to get on to questions, but sometimes I scratch my head again and think, you know, the damage that's been done, and this is the challenge. I think Trump is going to implode because of actions of folks like you and people all across the country. But will that implosion take place fast enough before such damage has been done? Can you imagine if you were a senior spy at the CIA or that admiral down in Norfolk? And just think how your head must be spinning. A month or so in, you brought in, you said, all right, new president, we got a new plan, we got a new foreign policy, and here's the deal. Russia is our friend, and Canada is our enemy. That kind of line wouldn't even make it on Saturday Night Live 7 months ago. That is what we're living right now. So we all do need to stand up, speak out. We need also, though, let me just tell you this, and I know I'll get a lot of comments on this, but I just want to lay this out and then we'll start questions. We got to not only talk to each other, we got to talk to our friends and family members who supported Trump. Because I don't think the vast majority of Americans are that mean or that cruel that they want families plucked off and disappeared. I don't think they want our military politicized. I don't think they want to have a financially ruinous, debt-inducing bill that robs healthcare and food assistance from literally millions of Americans. We are a better people. And part of what I also will urge you in is express your concern to me, your members of Congress, but what we also need to hear is those Republican elected officials at the city level, the county level, the state legislative level, they need to hear this too. So it will start trickling up to the members of Congress that we will try to bring back some level of sanity. That this great experiment in democracy that we celebrate 250 years of next year, that as we celebrate it, we actually still have a democracy. So thank you all for coming out. I'm ready to start taking the questions.